Can you beat Fallout New Vegas as Rocky Balboa? Okay, but first let us go over the rules of this run. For one, I cannot use anything other than the bare fists, boxing gloves, or boxing tape. No heavy armor, medium armor, except for faction armor. And 3, followers are allowed, but I cannot rely them heavily to complete quests. First things first, let's name our character Rocky and proceed to loot all of Doc Mitchell's stuff before heading over and deciding our skills and stats for this run. After accidentally sitting in Doc Mitchell's spot, I finished up my character creation and decided to go with unarmed, obviously, and repair and medicine for my skills this run. For my traits, I decided to go with hot-blooded and heavy-handed for this run also. After finishing my stats, I decided to go off to finish the tutorial with Sunny Smiles. After realizing I couldn't knock down the bottles with my hands for the tutorial to continue, I had to sadly use the varmint rifle to knock the rest of the bottles down to finish the tutorial. After the tutorial was finished, we made our way over to Chet to sell all the items that we weren't going to be using for this run, and buy up all the medical supplies that we could with the caps that we made. After such, we made our way over to Ringo, where we decided to help him out with the Powder Ganger situation. After leaving Ringo, we decided to head over to Sunny Smiles to get her to help us defend against the Powder Gangers. We also were able to get Doc Mitchell on our side, but sadly those were the only two. After long, we decided to go back to Ringo and start the battle against the Powder Gangers. As it was the beginning of the fight, it shouldn't be that hard, and since I do have boxing gloves on me, I decided to down one whiskey and a boxing time. It was off to face the Powder Gangers. Overall, it wasn't a tough fight, having the help of Sunny Smiles and Ringo. It was relatively easy to take down the Powder Gangers, especially because the boxing gloves do fatigue damage, which knocks out your opponents. Afterwards, I made my way over to Gene skydiving to get the items that were inside the building. Once outside, I was ambushed by a group of Powder Gangers, which I swiftly dealt with. By swiftly, I mean I hit around a corner and waited for the second Powder Ganger to approach, but sadly, he was stuck behind a rock, so I had to go to him. I also received my second level up there, which I sunk all of my points into unarmed, and decided to pick the confirmed bachelor perk. Afterwards, it was off to Prim. After making my way to Prim, I dealt with the 2 convicts outside the casino. First one went down quickly, while the second somehow decided to get phased in a wall. After struggling to find a solution, he finally popped out and I was able to swiftly take him out. Once done with the 2 convicts outside, I headed inside to deal with the other convicts that had kidnapped the deputy. Most of them went down fast, but the only one that gave me a little bit of trouble was the convict leader. Him having the incinerator did not make this easy. After everyone was saved, I made my way over to fight the jackals outside the police station, down the road from the Mojave outpost. Dealing with the jackals was fairly easy and a good amount of XP for the beginning of the game. Once finished there, I arrived at the Mojave outpost to gather up all the quests from Ghost and the other NCR Ranger. However, before doing so, I decided to stop and get the best repairs I could for my weapons and armor. Clearing out the highway of ants was fairly simple, and after such I headed off to Nipton to see what was going on. After meeting with Vulpus at Nipton, I headed back to Ghost and the other NCR Ranger to turn in my quest and get the rewards, and a little bit of NCR reputation. After turning in the quest, I headed off to Hidden Valley to save myself some time backtracking back to the Brotherhood of Steel. After discovering Hidden Valley, I made my way to Black Mountain, where I had to sneak past some super mutants, and from there I was able to pick up some NCR armor, which I could use to sneak past the guards at Camp McCarran. Making my way up the boulder path, dodging a boulder, I was able to safely get by. After arriving at the outskirts of Camp McCarran, I may or may not have tried to stage a battle between the Fiends and the NCR, and after such I put on the NCR armor and headed inside, taking the monorail over to Vegas. From Vegas, I made my way to the Ambassador Cocker and got my first quest to join the NCR. After arriving outside Nellis, I made a bet with a stranger and ran through the hellfire that the boomers were launching down on me. After meeting Pearl, I got the quest to help out the boomers and decided to go around helping out the boomers. The first stop was meeting with Pete, where, subsequently, I stole his snow globe and listened to the history of the boomers. After that, it was off to Jack and Loyal to get their quests. Jack's quest is fairly simple. All it involves is going back and forth between Pearl, Jack, and the girl that Jack's in love with, so that was fairly fast in completion. Loyal's quest, however, I had to jump through some hoops to get to. Somewhere down the line, I sold my NCR armor, and as such, I was no longer able to sneak into the Helios 1 power plant, and as such, I could not get the solar powers needed to repair the ones back in Ellis. Thinking I could gain some NCR rep really quick, and that would fix my problem, I headed off to get the bounties from Camp McCarran. After meeting with some fiends, I realized how difficult this challenge might be. Fiends did not go down quickly as the other enemies have gone before. But luckily, thanks to the fatigue damage, I was able to take them down one by one before finally being able to kill Driver Nephi. After going after Violet, let's just say I did not have the same luck that I had dealing with the other fiend. Third time round, I was finally able to lure the dogs off, and I was finally able to take Violet down and take her head. Last up was Cook Cook. Cook Cook was fairly easy. Like the others, I lured the enemies away and dealt with him by himself. After turning in the quest at Camp McCarran, I headed back to Helios Lone to learn that my reputation was not high enough, and as such, I headed off to Camp Farlone Hope. However, before that, I headed off to go get Arcane Ganon, our favorite Enclave remnant. After arriving at the camp, I headed off to go meet the Major and the Quartermaster to get my quest for the camp. After finding the missing supplies that were sent from Helios 1 and ambushed by the Legion, I was able to secure myself an NCR uniform, no longer needing to raise my reputation with the NCR. Being ambushed by the Legion was fairly simple, seeing how Arcane Ganon had a plasma pistol, it really left little for me to do. Arriving back at the camp, I talked to the quartermaster and headed off to the medical bunks to finish another quest. After treating the wounded soldiers with the supplies I headed off to Tech Sergeant Reyes to get the quest, which I would end up forgetting about later. After realizing that Ganon might make this challenge a little bit easy, I decided to part ways with our favorite Enclave Revenant. Maybe next time, Ganon. Inside Helios 1, I grabbed up the solar panels needed to repair the solar panels back at Nellis Air Force Base. After repairing the solar panels at Nellis, I headed off to the medical bunker, and after using a medical book for the first time, I was able to successfully heal all the boomers that were wounded. And with that, I had enough experience and reputation with the boomers that I could go on and finally finish the boomer questline. After talking with Pearl, I was off to Loyal to learn about the lady in the water. After a fairly nice swim, it was down to the Crash Beast 42 to attach the balances and raise it from the lake. After raising it from the water, I headed off to Lucky 38 to get the golden boxing gloves, which I forgot to record. Anyways, it was back to Ambassador Crocker to get my next quest. That quest being to kill Pacer, one of the members of the Kings. Heading to the Silver Rush to seek out new employment, I knew I could easily kill Pacer during such. After waiting for a while, Pacer finally showed up, and I was swiftly able to kill him with the help of the Silver Rush Guard. After turning that quest to the Ambassador, it was off to the Hoover Dam to get my next quest. After meeting with Colonel Morris, it was off to the Great Khans to deal with their alliance to the Legion. After failing to convince Papa, it was back outside to talk with Regis to where I could learn how to convince Papa Khan. Convincing the other Great Khans was relatively easy, as talking with the other members, they agreed to break their alliance with the Legion. After going back to Papa Khan, I was able to convince him, and as such, Carl met his demise. After, it was back to Colonel Moore to get my next quest for the NCR. This time, it was the Omertas I had to deal with. After stealing Chinko's book and blackmailing him to help me, I was able to go and learn of the Omertas plan. After talking with Troik, I was able to go to Big Sal, buy his contract, and Troik was able to give me some thermite to deal with the Omertas plan, aka their guns. After being flashbanged, it was time to go deal with Big Saul and the other bosses. After the Omertas were dealt with, it was back to Colonel Moore for my other NCR quests. This time, Mr. House. This one was relatively easy, just run past the guards, open the elevator, and disable his neural network. I decided not to kill him because I decided that Rocky wouldn't kill such a helpless old person. Next quest was the Brotherhood. After recruiting Veronica, I made my way into the bunker, stole the keycards, and proceeded to self-destruct the Brotherhood's bunker. No real trouble there. After the Brotherhood dealt with, it was time to protect the President from Legion assassins. Having played this multiple times, I quickly dealt with the Legion assassin and reported on the radio to stop the President's speech, finishing off that quest quickly. After my final talk with the Colonel, I was off to finish the Battle of Hoover Dam. Fighting my way up the dam was relatively hard, seeing as most of the people have such high armor and damage thresholds that my boxing gloves barely did anything. Once on top of the dam, it was relatively easy, having the help of the NCR to push across the dam. Outside the Legate's camp, it was now up for the guard guarding the front gate. Here you can see the actual time that it took me to fight the guy sped up. The fight with the Legate was relatively easy. After using the same strategy I used with Fiends, I was able to lure most of the people away while fighting the Legate one-on-one. With the fatigue damage of the boxing gloves, it was relatively quickly to deal with the Legate once he was knocked out. With the Legate dead, I donned my trophy and went off to the gate to finish the NCR questline and to finish Fallen New Vegas. And I can say safely that it is possible to beat Fallen New Vegas as Rocky Balboa. Thank you all for watching.